Happy Friday. We are getting closer to the long weekend. And I just thought I'd share something as well as we enter the weekend. I'm sure you've heard it many times in your life how important communication is, aside from even the words that we use, right? Somebody can say the same words and be taken completely different ways. And much like Scripture, right? You read through these texts, and Jesus said some pretty stern and harsh and critical things. Yet, well, two things. One, I think the times he was the most harsh were people inside the church who were representing him poorly. But to others who were outside the church, he had a lot to say about being separated from God in our ways of sin. Yet those people kept flocking to him. He's telling them news it's hard for them to hear, yet they keep coming to him. And you can only but interpret that as the way he's communicating these harsh truths are not in aggression and judgment and, attack. They're in grace, love, and truth. You can't get away from truth, but you sure can communicate it in the proper way. And it got me thinking. For a while, I thought, you know what? That should be our church, right? I mean, shouldn't that, if that's the representation of Christ, then if our churches aren't being flocked with these same people, then we're doing something wrong. But I was corrected today, and I love being corrected biblically, because to gain more wisdom and insight, and is fantastic. And my friend and I were talking this morning, and while that is true in a sense that certainly the church should be welcome to everybody, it needs to be, and people do come who are outside the church for the first time. It wasn't the institutionalized church that people were flocking to in Jesus' time. It wasn't the synagogues that people were just filling because of what he was saying. It was him he was coming to. Which is even more important after my conversation this morning on how that is not a picture of the church, or it should not be a picture of the church per se, but a picture of us. Are we approachable? In person or on social media or at work? Do we live a life that, even though others might know the truth that we believe, and there's no doubt that truth will conflict, but are we living a life where we can still be approachable? In the last few years, I have had many conversations, deep conversations about my faith with non-believers, atheists, other religions. And without compromising my beliefs, we've been able to have some really great conversations. And some of those conversations can turn into something more, of course. But my goal is just to be what Christ wants me to be more like him. It's that journey of sanctification as we continue to be shaped more and more like who we were designed to be and less like this world. But how we communicate that truth, and how we listen, and how we love. No, for me, it's not, well, you know what? All paths lead to the same place. Let's hold our hands and go there. No, I have beliefs about that, and I can share that. But there's certainly a way to do it. And I just see, let alone in Western Christianity, or in Western culture, I should say, here, it's so much wrapped around issues, politics, people, and not about God. I have more friends that I know that get worked up about who's in the Oval Office than who's sitting on the throne. And we can be passionate about politics. We should be. We should be activists, in our culture. But to elevate that above God, and if we are seen as that rather than a Christian, a little Christ's, then we're off the mark. So just a thought about communication. It was interesting because I always saw that picture and then I connected it with the church and, thought, wow, we need that needs to be the church. Well, that would be great. And it can be, and in some cases it is. But biblically speaking, it's not about the institution. We're the church, not the building. What's the steeple thing? Anyways, right? Not the building. It's us. So let's reshape ourselves. Maybe on a great day like Labor Weekend, right? The fields are ripe for harvest. Let's recenter ourselves this weekend. Represent him well. And just live a life that can draw rather than repulse. All right, well, off to conquer the rest of my day. God bless.